And it takes you, that's the thing too, you'd end up with so much less because it takes you so much longer to get from this corner to that corner back to like, that's what would be interesting. If you could go back through and look at those half circles you're doing, trying to keep everything pushed and the amount of like, I mean, when I'm here, like you go up, kind of knock, but when I'm going back over there and they're turning, I'm freaking, I'm 20-some miles an hour, hoping I'm not going to hit a rock or a hole. I about hit one. I just got to the side and I was like, woo, that might even be on the thing. I was like, woo, that was a close one. If I'd have hit that thing, I'd have just
tumbled it.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I about real. Good, bud.
A couple of nice wet spots out there too. So
oh, yeah.
Just
Boggy now. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You ready to roll?
Yeah, you're going.
Oh, we're off? So, trying to run a podcast here and nothing works, so we're going back to old school. But I'd like to welcome you guys to our very first podcast for Sorensen Day Workin. And if you guys don't mind introducing yourselves.
Yeah, my name's Lydia and I'm from New Zealand and I'm with Paudi.
From the west of Ireland.
Yeah, and we're travelling around and we just spent 2 months in Canada and now we're doing 6 weeks in America and we've just happened to come here and we're loving it.
Nice. So, I guess how this kind of all come about, I can't remember how long ago you reached out to us.
Yeah, it would have been, what do we know? Is it at least 9 months ago, would it be?
Yeah, probably at least. We were actually working at a different place at that time. And everything kind of worked together. But tell us, how you guys got started kind of going around, traveling, working different places and your experiences.
Yeah, so Paudi and I met in Australia on a cattle station. Well, it was actually at a livestock handling competition. We met each other and we were both working on separate cattle stations. And it was, I guess the reason we met is because we love agriculture and we love travelling and seeing different parts of the world. And so it's kind of worked to keep doing that. So after a couple of years in Australia, we went back to New Zealand for 2.5 years, and now we're on our way to Ireland. But we thought, well, seeing as we're jobless and homeless, we might as well do some proper travelling,
Have a decent look around.
Yeah, so we're spending 4.5 months just going across Canada, America, Mexico, and South America.
Nice.
Yeah, just seeing people and agriculture.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's been some of your best experiences, or what have you disliked about all the different places, or how does everything compare? Is it totally different?
Very different, yeah. Obviously the goal is the same everywhere you go. You're trying to get cattle in and turn them off and do all that sort of stuff. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of different ways of doing things.
Yep.
Yeah, because even doing what we were doing yesterday, branding and everything, I'd never been involved in any brandings where you're open or any of that sort of stuff. Everything's been through tables and shoots and that sort of stuff. So yeah, very different for me to see that.
Yeah, but I reckon that probably the biggest thing that keeps drawing me to agriculture is the people. Like, we've all got a common undercurrent and we've kind of got similar values because of that common undercurrent, and it's just we meet people that we're on the same page basically. Yep. Yeah, and it's just wherever we are in the world, we've all got our problems and we've all got our triumphs, and it's just we really enjoy meeting the people. And
we definitely learned a lot of that since we've started doing this, because we're only staying in places for a short amount of time, and you get to a place and why the hell are they doing it that way? But then not until you start talking to people and you see the long term, because it's all well and good for us to pull up for 3 days and just say, oh, that's just stupid, why would you do that? But then once you see why you're doing it, and because it's a completely different environment, so weather, everything else plays a factor in all these things. So then you're looking at all that, because we've seen a lot of it in Canada with they get big freezes and a lot more snow than I've seen anywhere that I've been. So they're doing a lot of things for them reasons, whereas we were there when it's 30 degrees and it's nice and sunny and everything, so that doesn't make any sense. But when it does get cold and everything, them things are there for a reason. Yeah,
because they're under snow for at least 6 months of the year, but we're there in the height of summer, and we're just like, why are you guys doing it this way?
Yeah, you can't control Mother Nature.
No.
So you just got to adapt with what she's dishing out.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing, is just people just adapting to their challenges and all these different environments. But even when it comes to farming, you can't even look over the fence and be like, why are they doing it that way? Every property is so different, and that's probably another thing that we're finding. It's even your neighbour has to do things differently because you've got slightly different challenges. So like everyone has to do things differently, and there's no right or wrong. It's just you just need to adapt to your environment and just do the best you can do.
Yeah, and it comes down to me. It comes down to several things, but obviously finances.
Yeah.
If they're financially stable, you're able to do a lot more if they're willing to do that kind of stuff. If they're not, you're just going to keep repeating the same thing over and over again. You get frustrated. You're wondering why you can't put in a trail or do this or do that to make things a lot easier. And the owners or whoever it is you're working for just, they don't see it. So
they don't see the day-to-day struggle though either most of the time. So.
They're just looking at bottom line. It's like, well, you could increase your bottom line if we did this and this and this, but it's like, well, we have all these problems anyway, so why am I going to spend more money? It's like, well, we can show you, but unless you're willing to do it, unless you're willing to actually be out here with feet on the ground and understand what's going on, we're just talking and wasting time.
I feel like this alludes to a few conversations we've had over the last couple of days. It's like to clear a block out and pick up the stragglers, like spending all day to get 5 cows, like that's not going to show up in the bank. Like that's just going to put you in the negatives. But like long term, it's going to be good because you're clearing out these blocks. And we were talking to Trey last night about like if you've got it in your head, I'm going to clear this block out. Like chances are you'll find a way to clear a block out. But if people are just like, oh, whatever, you get what you can, like you're always going to have those stragglers.
They'll be there next year.
Yeah, exactly.
And so like with everything, it all comes to the top 2 inches. It's just like get it in your head of like what you're wanting to do. But finance is a huge part to play as well.
But that full reset, like if you can catch everything, have them all under control, you get them trained each time, obviously, and you get rid of anything that's unhandleable, and then you're setting yourself up in the long run for stuff that will come in and you will be able to handle and everything else.
If you got bulls that are 10, 15 years old and they're still running around,
and that's all they've ever done.
All they are is a pain in the ass. They're not doing you any good. So dealing with those, and everybody has, it's like we talk this type of cow, you haul them in the cell, you're not going to get anything for them. So I get to a point of she'll give me one more calf. It'll actually pay more than what she's even worth, like probably double at least. So it's like I get part of that, but there has to come a point too where it's like, okay, what are we really doing? Are we running her? We're gonna make it work, or you get rid of her at a certain time and then you just keep everything good where it can go.
But that's where a good culling program comes into it. You take your 10 years or 9 years, 10 years, whatever, and you have your number brand on them and they're gone as soon as they come through.
Yeah, if you're not keeping records, and we've talked about this quite a bit over the last couple of days. But for me, it's if you don't talk about your numbers, like you can look at the end of year report, but if you don't understand where you're at, it's like, okay, and your conditions, Mother Nature, because there's a drought, we have a good year. Are we calving out good? Are we not? Or we got a bunch of open stuff and 15-year-old bulls running around? It's like, it kind of all adds up.
What's affecting all these things?
It'll all add up. But, just dealing with cattle, I mean, it was pretty interesting to hear you guys talk about, in Australia and how you guys kind of did it and the big crews that you have to do all that stuff. And I can't even envision what that honestly looks like. But, it's pretty interesting to me. So if you guys wouldn't mind sharing a few stories about that and like how that kind of looked.
Yeah. So Paudi and I were on separate stations, and they were run a bit differently. But the one that I was on, it was run very well, and every time we'd go and do a muster, it was really well thought out. There's a big game plan. Everyone was on the same page. And you always had 2 choppers, about 5 horses, 2 bikes, 2 buggies. You kind of had every facet covered.
Wow.
And we all had our 2-ways, and we were all conducted by the helicopters, and we're all in communication with each other. If not, because we're really spread out, so we can't always all hear each other, but we can all hear the chopper and we can all talk to the chopper, and they're just up in the air, just making sure they're bringing cattle in, and they can see any cattle that are just way out. And if you do need to, if these cattle way out, that's where a bike comes in handy, and they just push them onto a creek line, and the horses just push them up on the creek line, and then the choppers are just out spotting all the cattle. And so you spend all day doing it, but you get 90% of the cattle. And it's and so you spend 6 to 8 months of the year just doing that. Like, so the property I was on, it was about 500,000 hectares, which is close to just over 1 million acres. And yeah, so we were just like really methodical about how we went about it, and it was run very well.
So 6 to 8 months to gather everything on those. So in that 6 to 8 months, are there calves coming at all different times, or what?
Yeah, the
like,
bulls out all year round.
So you're bringing them in, processing them.
Yeah.
How do they ship them over there? What does that look like?
Trucks, road trains. Yeah. So big trucks, double trailers, turtle trailers, that sort of thing. Yeah. So the place I was, there's a semi with a trailer behind it, like, so you'd fit 200 odd of Waylands on there, sort of thing. And yeah, you're trucking them. We'd usually just truck them back to the homestead, and we process them from there, and then whatever's saleable day gets trucked out by a trucking company into town, because the majority of the market over there is export. So exporting to Indonesia, whereas
the Middle East. And,
all around the Middle East, actually, And there's so they go into shipping depots in towns and that, and then they get shipped out of there. So you get an agent come out and look at all your stock and pick up what he wants. But then if you do have lighter stuff, they go on to they'll head up north and go into a bit of background and situations and that sort of thing.
Well, with our property, like the live export market is quite volatile, so like it could just end at any stage, so it doesn't pay to have all your eggs in one basket. So for us, if there was an opportunity to put some cattle on the ship, we'd do it, but we were trying to just stay local, keep things domestic, send stuff off to a feedlot, and we were actually building up our own beef brand as well. So we were selling, so like we had some beef that went towards that, and then we also had a contract with a local mine, because the mining's huge in Australia. So we were actually giving selling beef to this mine. So like local miners are actually able to eat local beef, which doesn't happen, because like if you were to just go to the supermarket in the Pilbara, like in the north of WA, chances are your beef would actually come from somewhere over east in Australia. And so it was actually quite hard to get local beef. So that's the whole ethos behind like us getting branding our own beef.
So what type of cattle were you guys mostly around over there?
So the station I was on was predominantly Brahman. Yeah, big grey and red Brahmins.
Yeah.
Then there was still a lot of crossbreds and everything on it, but they were sort of trying to weed them out and go for straight Brahman as best they could.
Yeah, and then we had Drought Master, which is Brahman cross Shorthorn. But so like the area that we're in, because it's like we don't really have winter summers, it's just a wet and a dry season. So the Bos Indicus, so like your Brahman, like those types of cattle do better in that environment. Yeah.
Just the weather, and they're just able to deal with what's going on.
Just the heat. It's always hot.
Yeah.
So like,
and they have to travel along like miles as well, just to like feed and water, but they can't go any more than like 5 kilometers, which is what, like 2.5 miles.
3 miles.
3 miles. Yeah, they can't go any further than that from a water point. So like there's like, but they do have to go a long ways just to eat and drink and stuff like that. Wow. So yeah.
So are all those blocks, you call them over there? Blocks?
Yeah, areas.
So is that all that stuff fenced pretty much, or is it open range kind of stuff? I mean, 1 million acres, is all that fenced, and how big are those sections?
Yeah, so the place I was on was big marine plains, and a lot of that was fenced. But then, governed by your water points as well. So the cattle are only going to move 5k off them water points for the most part until the wet season. They will start to spread out a bit more when there's a bit groundwater around. But your fences. Yeah, fence maintenance is a big thing, but you're not keeping on top of it all. And we were right along the coast, so like obviously a lot of rot, like everything was corroding most of the time with salt wind and all that sort of stuff. So your fences were
it's probably one of your biggest outline costs on the station is to fence, especially like put in new fences and stuff like that. So because half of our property, it was originally it was the main places where we were, it was 250,000 hectares, and then we got another lease block, and it needed a lot of maintenance, and the biggest cost was fencing, and it takes a while to reap the benefits of that fencing as well, because you have to fence kilometres, like tens of kilometres, and just for like the gain isn't you don't see the benefit of it straight away. But it is good to kind of like try and keep your neighbour's cattle out and keep your cattle in, and just try and have that boundary fence. And then like, so on that block in particular, each block was probably like, say we kind of like divided it up into like 4 main sections, so like each section was like 50,000 hectares.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was just to try and like little by little, like we were trying to like divvy it up and just like govern where they're going with the water points and stuff like that. And
so you control them pretty much with the water.
It's like any dry place, and then obviously in the wet season you wouldn't be handling them anyways. You'd sort of, where I was, we'd stop mustering, sort of into November time, which was a bit later than other places, and then you wouldn't start up again until April. So like all that wet season didn't really matter where they moved to, because then once it dried up, they'd be back to where you could handle them again and where you could gather them from and all that. Yeah. So the big thing was your holding paddocks for your sellable cattle. You'd be keeping on top of your fences there.
Yeah.
So you'd have we had 4 different holding paddocks that you'd have, like bulls and heifers and cull cows and all that sort of stuff. And
so you could just like stockpile your stuff during the mustering season.
Or stuff that was a bit lighter and everything else. You just kicked them out there for a while, and you'd be feeding them pellets and stuff like that, a bit of hay. And, wasn't definitely weren't getting force fed or nothing, but you're giving them enough to keep them ticking along and hopefully thriving a bit.
Yeah, so like the way that we used to muster, so like we had our main yards, and at those main yards we had the holding paddocks, and we'd have like certain lines of cattle in each paddock, and I think we started off with just 4, and then also I was there for 3 years, and by the 3rd season I think we had about 6 or 7 the kind of like areas like holding paddocks and stuff. But so like the way that we'd go and muster is like, so say we wanted to go and muster an area, we would have like a set of permanent yards set up there, and if there weren't permanent yards, we'd set up portable yards, and we'd literally set up camp there. Like we'd all be camping in swags and cooking on fires and stuff like that. Like we're actually like proper bush camping, and like and just using those main yards as like a clover leaf for an area. So we'd go and muster an area, and generally like, so you go like muster an area, bring them in, process them, and like you try and hold them in a holding paddock. Otherwise you'd actually just put them back out into the area, and they'll just go to their known water point, and you could muster another area and know that you're not going to pick up what you just mustered, because they're not going to come near there because they just don't go that far. So and that's what the 6 to 8 months looks like for us. It's like we're just going out, camping out somewhere, mustering an area, shipping stuff back to the main yards, the old sale cattle and weaners and stuff like that. And
wow, you do get crossovers when you're doing that as well, like of stuff that you've already brought in, but it's amazing how territorial they get at their water. Because I've heard stories, I haven't actually seen it myself, where people turn waters off to get cattle to walk out further so they're closer for gathering and everything, and some of them just won't leave. The amount of cows and everything, they'll just stay there and park.
So are they turning off the waters and pushing them to the next
trying
water?
to get them to move off to the next one.
And they'll go right back to where there's no water. Wow.
They just get that territorial over that water. They have to move off at some stage, I suppose, but you do need to be, especially the amount of cows, they just seem to that's where they'll hatch and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So on these ranches, how many cows are you guys dealing with on them with them being that big?
So last year I was on the place I was, we put through 23,500 through the yards, so through the corrals that year. So out of that there'd probably be about 11,000 breeders.
Wow.
Yeah. Somewhere around that, but that was sort of a rough figure that we got into that year.
11,000 mama cows. Wow.
And then we had about 7,500 to 8,000 breeders, and then we'd have like some grower steers and spay heifers and stuff like on the place, so we'd probably have no more than a couple of thousand of those.
So that's the thing with obviously having your bull out all year round, your numbers do get a bit up in the air, because you understand what's going to happen there. So that'd be a sort of rough figure that I'd have, about 11,000 breeders on that place. A lot of them were sort of pushing on too, so it was, the herd was getting a bit, they were bringing in younger stock obviously, but it was definitely getting a bit older.
So were you part of any, like the percentage of what they're holding back for replacements, like what their loss is per year? Are you guys aware of any of those kind of numbers on that place?
Not really, no.
The station I was on, we were really meticulous with our recording, and that was actually my job on the station. I was like a station hand, but I was also like the record keeper, and so it was like me and the boss were just like trying to like fine-tune ways of recording what's on the station. So every cow that came into the yards, she had an electronic tag, and they were scanned into a system, and we're able to like pull up their lifetime data. So we're able to see like well, if we actually see them every year, or like when we last saw them, and whether they come through with a calf or not. And generally what we're looking for is just that she comes in every year and that she's had a calf on her, like, because we're only seeing her once a year. She should be wet, she should have an udder on her every time we see her. And so with that data, like we're able to collect a lot of data, but what I noticed with the record keeping was like, so your end numbers at the end of the year, they might match up with like the previous year's numbers, but if you were to look at like the individual tag numbers, you're actually seeing like a couple hundred head you didn't see last year, and you're actually missing a couple hundred from last year. So like your numbers
they're out there. You just don't know where.
And so
didn't want to come in this time.
And like, so that was actually the biggest challenge, was just like, we're able to collect all this data, and that's amazing, but it was actually like,
it's not 100%.
And it was really fascinating to see just like who was actually coming in, and it was just crazy to see like your bottom number lines up, but it's just like individual animals it doesn't. Well, not always. And and that's due to like just cattle going walkabouts and just not picking them up, but also them going to the neighbours, and the neighbours just not giving the cattle back. So like we didn't have great neighbours, so like sometimes so like if they muster your cattle in and they come in with whopping big weaners on them, they'll just take the weaners and just bush your cows and just not tell you they're soil your cows. So that there's a bit of that going on too.
Happens everywhere.
Anywhere you can get away with it.
Unfortunately.
So it's so there's so many things that come into play, but that was what I noticed anyway.
Interesting. You guys probably heard the noise, got the branding crew ready to go, but anyways, if you guys have, anything, I know you guys are running short on time, you got another place to go to today, but if you guys got just any experiences here that you care to share.
We've absolutely loved it here. It's been amazing. And I was talking to Zach yesterday. He was just like, have you seen, anything on the scale before? And I was like, this is actually really similar to the Pilbara where I was in Western Australia. And I remember walking away from that place and just being like, I'll never see this again. Like, I'll never see farming on this scale again. But it would come here, and it's here. It's right here, and it's done slightly differently, and we love that. We're learning new things, and but like we're just really enjoying just like I don't know, the vastness, but also just like, I don't know what the word is, but like the people here really want to be here, and they love the land, and they love their cattle, and they love their animals, and that's kind of it, Oh, you definitely have to be. There's no kind of sorta. It's like you definitely have to love what you're doing, or you would not be doing this stuff day in, day out.
It's like anything in this industry, you're not in it for the money.
Unfortunately, you wish there was a pile of pot of gold at the end of it.
There's a bit more involved in it. No, but I've definitely enjoyed out there, because never dealt with corrientes before, so that's been an eye opener for me, just seeing different ways to handle them.
And like we said, depending on the place, it's like the last place we worked, we dealt with them different because of the terrain and everything else, and here we have to deal with them a little different. And biggest thing is just trying to be as efficient as you can and get everything actually done. Not look for the excuses of why you didn't get this gathered or get that gathered, or why you got 5-year-old slicks running around and 15-year-old bulls and whatever that is. Like, at the end of the day, just do your job. And if you want to sit on a horse all day, it's like we talked. If you want to sit on a horse all day and look cool, you're not going to gather all these cows flat out. As soon as they see that truck and trailer come down the road, now that you guys have had that experience, it'd be kind of interesting to see what you think about that. Because we had that conversation before of like, if you think you're going to sit on a horse, you're just not going to get it done. Because yesterday we ended up we branded in the morning, and then I don't know unfortunately I don't know how many miles we went the days before. But yesterday from probably about 1-2 o'clock till 6-7 o'clock. We went 64 point some miles.
Yeah.
So how you doing that on a horse?
Yeah.
The average speed was 8.8.
Oh, wasn't it? So you had that as well.
Yeah, it shows the speed.
Yeah.
8.8 mile.
And a lot of that, you know, when we got up on the end there, we were
Yeah.
we just stopped on some points, just
Yeah.
waiting for them to catch up and get everything put together and catching the stuff in the front that was trying to run away and all that. So it was just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I saw it from the other side of like being in the truck and trailer with the horse, like waiting, ready to go. Like just seeing you guys from a distance just bring those cows up. It was just like you really didn't need any more than you guys. Like, I mean, you would have benefited.
We would have
from,
took an extra one or two there at times.
But like if there were two horses, you wouldn't have been able to do what you were doing, you know.
No.
Like so, but two bikes to do what you did, and then just like at the right time, drop horses in when you could, and just save the energy to when you've got most of the cows and you really want to keep them together. Then bring everyone in and make sure they get to the yards. Like I could definitely see why you guys are doing things the way you're doing them.
Oh, you know, and it's great to have everybody here and have the extra help for sure. But you know, most days we're dealing with 3 people.
Yeah. And
so
you know, I've talked to Trey and Jenny about that as well. And like, holy shit, that'll be hard going.
It's so you know, and like we said, the dogs, like if we can gather what we can gather to start off with, then we go back. We're trying to trap some stuff on the side, you know, and maybe you're getting some little bunches, and then you go back to where it's just straight horses, and you're roping what you can get and catching them and using the dogs to get that done. And then on the other allotment, unfortunately, we couldn't make it up there because of the rain. But those dogs being able to trail those cattle up, get them caught, you know, and then you're going up in the trees and dealing with them and catching them and getting them all down. It's a lot longer process, but it needs to be done. And if you don't have the tools to do that, you're never going to get a place cleaned up.
Pissing in the wind.
Yeah.
Without them dogs doing that, you're lost, really, aren't you?
Oh yeah. It's made such a huge difference for us to be able to do that, and they're not fun to be around when you don't have work for them. You know, they want to go to work.
It's the same as any good dog, isn't it?
So they're kind of a pain, but we dang sure when we do need them, we need them.
Yeah.
But it's unreal how they put them cattle in line too. Like that first evening when we were putting them cattle in the corrals, and we tried it without the dogs first, and as soon as you dropped the dogs off, it was just like, different attitude.
Yeah,
Everything just you could just see them cows just changed, and they haven't even seen the dogs that much, have they?
No, they haven't been around them a lot.
Yeah.
No, we've got all kinds of stories and probably not enough time for all that, all those stories today. But I just, you know, if there's, I guess, what do you guys think about the branding? You know, we talked about that with the, you know, the roping it. And like I said, like what we're doing is more of a, you know, we're going to get it done, but let's work some horses, make sure, like I said, my biggest thing is everybody's safe and we all walk away at the end of the day. We're not trying to be crazy and hurrying everything up. And if it takes a little bit longer, we'll take a little bit longer. But what do you guys think about that stuff? And how many cows did you rope there today? That was awesome.
That was a dream come true for me, for sure.
Nice.
I've always known about this branding and roping, and like we just don't do it in Australia and New Zealand, and it was. So like I had a grin from ear to ear for the solid for a solid
awesome.
6 hours yesterday. I was freaking loving it, and I can definitely see why it's done the way it's done. You know, like
it's such a huge part of your tradition over here too. It's just good to see it being carried on. Yeah.
That's as much as anything. You know,
and I can see that too.
If you can, you know, friends, new, old, whatever, if you can get them to come out and go to a branding, that for me is better than Christmas. Like honestly, like
100%.
being around good people and just
is,
having that, you know, and like I told you guys, we like to harass each other quite a bit and everything else. So it's the same with everybody. Like, have fun while you're there. You know, it doesn't need to be all serious. Like, 100%. You're going to work one way or another, so you can go about it 2 different ways. Like, I'd rather joke around and have fun.
But you could definitely see that with everyone yesterday. Everyone was, and
like,
it was just what they're born to do, really, isn't it?
We're just loving the culture of branding because it's just bringing together people and bringing out the best in everyone, and and like for my first branding, it just how accommodating everyone was and just patient they were. Like, sure, I roped some cows, but it was there are hospital shots, but I got them.
Hey, it all counts.
It's I was just taken away with just how just kind and generous and patient and just lovely everyone was. And
Everyone wanted to see you succeed.
yeah, that's it. Like, and they knew it was my first branding, so it's just like, get into it, have fun. And I'm like, hell yeah.
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 So we'll get you on today.
You ready? Yeah. Good job we're here for another hour and a half.
Yeah, we got to get after it. But sure appreciate you guys. It's been nice to get to know you over the last few days.
Same as that.
You guys are
Same.
welcome here anytime.
Thank you.
If you ever want brand some in Ireland,
Yeah. We'll give you a shout.
we'll save up and come.
No,
Yeah.
thanks very much for everything.
Yeah, no, honestly,
Appreciate
thank
you
you.
guys.
Like,
Thank
yeah,
you.
just
First podcast, so hopefully we got some more to come and we actually get our stuff together
Yeah.
so that we can use.
It'd be interesting watching it coming out. Yeah, watching it
Yeah.
unfold.
Yeah, we'll get some
oh
footage.
yeah, I forgot we're getting video.
Yeah. You're still getting video?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Very good.
All right, sure appreciate it.
I
guys.
literally just figured
Well,
it
thank
out.
you.
You just figured it out.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.